Hello, hello. Give me a shout where you're from, where you're coming from. Tell me if you're here with me. I'm looking forward to having everybody here for community conversations tonight. And I know the graphic had Ethan's wonderful face there, but it is me tonight. Ethan is away, and I'm filling in, so I'm looking forward to guest hosting this. Welcome, welcome. Let me know in the comments where you're joining us from. Tell me the best present you got for the holidays. Just a general before we get started. This live stream educational, not intended to replace therapy. For any treatment related questions, please work with your provider or contact a local clinician. You can use the IOCDF's online resource directory at iocdf.org/find help to locate a trained clinician near you. The IOCDF is not a crisis hotline. If you are in a crisis or if you're ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please go to your local emergency room or call 911 or the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. We want to make sure we create a space here. Be kind, respectful to everyone. At the end of the day, we're all here to support one another. This is being broadcast on several different social media platforms and is being recorded. Hey, Matt. Hey, Dave. Where are you guys coming from? Be sure to ask some questions too. We'll get started with some questions as soon as people start asking questions, and we can kind of chat about the new year, the holidays, and we'll go from there. UK, awesome. Thanks for being here. Camila, welcome. How's everybody's holidays? Nice. Houston. Hi, Melissa. How are you? My holidays was good, Matt. Thanks for asking. I got probably I got a solid 3 days off of work, so I was, to be with my family. Got to travel home to Connecticut and be with my family. So that was tremendous. And then, my girlfriend visited the following week, so it was a good holiday, and um, I was happy to be home with the family. Holidays are tough though. I mean, I think even I don't think I've ever not struggled with holidays. I think the bigger the get together, the more anxious I get too, and the more OCD triggers come up. Meryl, nice to see you virtually from the Netherlands. That's awesome. I want to visit there one day. Allison, thanks for being here. Drop some questions in the comments section. Feel free to ask whatever you want. Tell me how your holidays were. Um, tell me what maybe a New Year's resolution is, OCD related or not. Yeah, I agree, Matt. I agree. I think just having family around is amazing. but definitely, you gotta identify those OCD triggers for sure. Kata, hi, new here. That's awesome. Help, great first time. I'm excited to have you. Welcome to the community. Kayli, OCD is treating me up and down. I think it comes in ebbs and flows for sure. Um, I think I manage OCD during the holidays by giving myself some grace and being kind to myself and realizing that um, it's not always going to be easy and holidays don't have to be perfect, but it's valuable time to spend with family members. And like, Katie O'Dunn says, stick with the ick and lean towards your values. And my values is being around my family and friends and the people I love. And I wasn't going to let anything that I wasn't going to let OCD take that away from me. So when those triggers came up, that's when it's ERP on the go. Hi from Boston area. I miss Boston. I want to go back there and live there. And that's amazing that you're getting great at response prevention and trying exposures. That's tremendous. Congratulations, Amanda. You should be really proud of yourself. Meryl, if you can elaborate a little bit on your question, any advice on how to deal with OCD obsessions with people? If you have any additional details so I can answer that question better, I'm happy to. Yeah, Allison, I agree. Holidays have always been a bit challenging as I've wanted everything to be perfect and feel right. I think, just outside of OCD, I think that's a lot of people's feelings too. You want everything to happen that one day, right? It's like like for Christmas, like I celebrate Christmas. It's one day, maybe 2 days, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Um, and it's like there's 364 other days in the year. We can't count on this one day to be perfect every time. You got to just kind of enjoy the people that are around you. For anybody joining us, definitely drop some questions in the comment section. Ask away. This is your time. I'm looking forward to chatting with everybody and having everybody join us here. Melissa, I think that's maybe a good question for one of the live streams called Ask the Experts. I think would be with Chris Tronson and Liz McAville. I think that would be a really good question for them, and they could give you an even better answer. So you can see the entire schedule of the future streams at iocdf.org/peace of mind. And I think that would be a tremendous opportunity for you to ask that question. Anytime I shy away from a question, I want to make sure you're getting the best possible answer. And because I'm not a clinician, I think they'll give you a very clinical answer. Kayli, thank you so much. I'm really, really excited about the podcast. Um, it's been something that's been kind of on the back burner for but brewing for a while, 2 years maybe. Just felt like now is the right time. And I'm really, really grateful for the IOCDF supporting me with that endeavor. And I'm excited to kind of bring it to everybody's ears. And anybody that can listen, subscribe, share it. It's called Smalls Talk Podcast. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Um, I'm very appreciative of everybody's support, and I couldn't do it without everybody in here. Meryl, example, having romantic obsessions about people or constantly obsessing over if a person is safe and happy. I've definitely had that obsession before. A lot of early on in my diagnosis, a lot of my uh, intrusive thoughts were about my family dying in a car accident, or my brother dying in a plane accident. So I was constantly checking and making sure that my family was safe. So I definitely have been there, and it's a really really tough. It's a tough trigger. It's a tough intrusive thought for sure. So I totally empathize with you, man. I love that resolution. Help as many people with OCD as you can. Um, I love that you set up a live Zoom group chat. That's terrific. I think there's so many ways to be an advocate and be there for people with OCD, and I love to see you doing that. And I can't imagine how many people it's going to help. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you. Keep it up. I'm really excited about it. Definitely go back and watch some of the episodes. We've had 11 episodes so far. Some really phenomenal guests, with a lot of different perspectives. And I think, as much as a lot of them are in the athletics realm, there's a lot to learn from all of them, and it's not just only about athletics, because we're really talking about deep stuff and mental health and how we can better each other. If you're just joining, definitely ask some questions in the chat. Um, would love to hear from you where you're coming from. Tell me the best gift you gave, maybe, or what that you received for the holidays. Tell me a New Year's resolution. I'm here to, however, to help you guys. So definitely ask away. Um, Obviously, I'm an open book. So if you want to hear about more about my OCD, or if you want me to, tell you about my experiences, I'm totally open to that. Talk about the holidays and how, OCD triggers come up there. We could talk about ERP, whatever it is. Definitely ask away. Yeah, Matt, definitely. My story started when I was, I don't want to turn this all about me, obviously, because there definitely is a lot of people that have heard my story. But I I was when I was young, I was diagnosed, with just general anxiety, and I knew I was always a little bit different. I knew that, um, generally I knew I was very anxious. I knew I always had this pit in my stomach. I always was sweating. I was always really, really, um, stressing about things that maybe other people didn't stress about. And then when I got to middle school, I started noticing these intrusive thoughts. And obviously, with OCD, we can identify that they're irrational, but we can't tell ourselves that to not do the compulsions, or that we shouldn't believe these thoughts. And so I wasn't able to decipher that, and so I started having these really violent and intrusive thoughts, and um, things that I always felt ashamed to that I was the one thinking that, and I thought I was the only person on earth thinking that. And I was diagnosed. It got to the point where I was doing 13 to 15 hours of compulsions a day, which obviously, anybody that's dealt with compulsions, and that has OCD, 15 hours a day. A lot of people that don't have OCD don't understand how much that that takes a toll on you, right? If 15 hours a day, that leaves 9 hours for school, homework, social life, athletics, any extracurricular activities. Sleep. So as you can imagine, I was barely leaving the house, and I was very close to going to a facility for inpatient treatment, and then my mom was begged an OCD um, therapist to take me on as a client, even though she was totally booked. And we found somebody, and I started going multiple times a week, outpatient. And I'm actually with the same therapist now. I tried like 4 different ones before, and they all said they treated OCD. But I was walking out of there not even having any ERP done. And when I found Amy, you know, I I realized how special that therapist client connection is, because I felt safe with her, but I felt empowered to do ERP, and like I could potentially get my life back on track. Before I got to her, I was suicidal. It felt like there was no point of living anymore. Um, you know, I I was watching all my friends, and classmates, have these extravagant lives and these highlights, and still in bed and trying to get out of bed and put my jeans on in the morning, 50 times, which obviously you feel this embarrassment, this shame that you shouldn't feel, but when you feel like the when you feel like the only one that's happening. This is before I found you guys and the amazing OCD community. You feel like such an outcast. And so, I went through so much therapy, so much exposure response prevention. And obviously, I took back my life, but it got to, I got to college and thought that was it. And so, you know, my, uh, my athletic career was really ripped away from me when I was, uh, when I was in high school. Didn't really get to do much there. Didn't have much of a social life. And when I got to college, I decided to work with as a student assistant for the men's basketball team. I always loved basketball and football. And you go into college after a situation like I was in, being diagnosed with OCD, and feeling like such an outcast. And you think, wow, like this is a fresh start. This is somewhere like where finally, I can be somebody and kind of start over. And because after treatment, there's this identity portion. Like I felt like I didn't know who I was, what I liked. Um, and so, I get to college and I work as a student assistant. I got a job as a student assistant volunteer with the men's basketball team. And um, what happened next was, something that I never thought was even in the cards. So I started advocating with the IOCDF more and more, speaking at the national conferences, being on live streams, and being on in videos and different things, and writing blog articles. And I started speaking locally at schools and different things like that. And I put together, a documentary with my friend that we posted, and about living with OCD to try to break that stigma. And, you know, the coach that I was working for used that my mental health disorder against me, and was calling me, started bullying me about it, and said things like, you're going to be the next school shooter, you're the next Unabomber, you belong in an insane asylum, just things that should never be said. He would remind me to take my crazy pills, things that, like, at the time I didn't realize how bad they were, but um, you know after hearing those things and telling my family, they were like, this is crazy. Like, he can't say those things to you. And so I was being belittled every day I walked in the office. And, it's just things like that should never be said to another human being. And so it got to the point where it got out to the press, and I was put into a real tough situation. I was publicly known as somebody that was being, verbally abused and psychologically abused by somebody I thought I trusted. Um, and I ended up, being in, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, whatever, CBS News, being in these articles, not name dropping, but it was very easy to identify me. And so, you're in a situation where you have two options. You can, talk to the reporters that are trying to ask you questions, or you can use this situation to educate about OCD and what OCD really is. And thank gosh for me, I I had the IOCDF in my corner, and they helped me turn this really large situation, and very public situation into a platform to educate about OCD. And so that's the path I chose. And that's when I started getting into performance and became a strength coach. Because the strength coach at the time, at that school I was at, took me under his wing and kind of protected me the whole time. So and that's how I got into performance. And I vowed that, as a performance coach, I was going to protect athletes and help them get better as mentally, emotionally, physically, however I can. It's just a situation where you think something's going one way, and then all of a sudden, these cards are thrown at you, and it's life is really 90%, 10% what happens to us, and 90% how we respond, right? And so, you know, the way I responded was to educate and make sure that people wouldn't misunderstand OCD anymore, and try to break down that wall of stigma. And then after that, I've been with the IOCDF as lead advocate for a couple years now, and we've done a lot. I mean, we launched anxiety in athletes. Um, since then, that situation definitely inspired me to get more education. I went and got my master's in exercise and sports science, and then worked at a bunch of different schools in the Northeast, as a strength and conditioning coach, and then now I'm at a facility in Albany, New York, but as a head strength coach. But the podcast, anxiety and athletes, these are all tools that I want to be at everybody's disposal and be able to break down that stigma, and so that nobody ever has to be belittled like that, or ever is belittled like that again, because I felt so isolated. And if I didn't have my support system, I was definitely in a place where I was relapsing for sure because of being bullied so much. Man, I'm really sorry to hear that you got bullied at work, man. It's never easy. It's just it's a crappy feeling, and um, just know that people that are bullying you are insecure about themselves, obviously, and um, stand up for yourself and make sure that you know that you're loved, and that you have a lot of people in your corner, including the whole OCD community. I mean, that's definitely what got me through, a situation like that, where I was I felt like I was on an island, being bullied every day. I walked in the office, and then all of a sudden, I had this whole OCD community lifting me up, and so that really helped me get through. If you're here, definitely ask away, ask some questions. Timothy, I suffer from compulsive hand washing anxiety, but didn't find much help with a counselor. Any thoughts on self management? Um, in my opinion, I think finding a counselor should be your top priority. Um, Self management is definitely possible, but I think you need to go to a counselor to learn the tools to do that self management. If you go on the IOCDF website, there's a whole list of clinicians and resource direct. It's the IOCDF's online resource directory, iocdf.org/find help. You can locate a trained clinician near you, because I think as much as people are able to self manage, I think it's really, really important to understand the tools that are there, at your disposal, and understand ERP, because ERP and the combination of ERP and medication saved my life. Just plain and simple. ERP to me is the gold standard of treatment, um, and I think it really saved my life and taught me how to stick with my values and attack the intrusive thoughts. That's awesome, Matt. Yeah, Chris and Liz are two of the most tremendous people I know. It's plain and simple. Ethan, Katie, Valerie, Liz, and Chris. Working with them past 2 years has been one of the biggest blessings in my life. They're just tremendous people, and you really can't find better people. And so I'm super excited that they helped you open up to your family about OCD, because um, having that support system with your family on board is just, I mean, it makes a world difference. Even if they don't technically understand what it's like to feel what actually having OCD is like, just knowing that they're there for you in any way they can be is huge. Meryl, I'm glad to hear that self management and getting advice online has worked for you. That's awesome. I'm glad you caught it early, and not so many people aren't diagnosed early. They're diagnosed quite late, actually, and so we want to keep improving that, and people have make sure that people are diagnosed, on time, and have are able to live not just functional lives. We want you to thrive. We don't want to just survive, right? Keep asking questions, and I'll keep answering the best I can. Happy to answer whatever you guys need. Yeah, Katie and Ethan are in Disney. I'm gonna Ethan, your OCD community misses you. They said they like you better. Just kidding. um, Allison, how are you able to know when to stop a training session? As a kid, I couldn't stop shooting baskets. The last basket felt just right. When I would swim, I would have to swim extra laps in case a lap wasn't right. OCD took a lot of my joy in athletics, but I haven't let it stop me. My therapist has helped me to enjoy swimming again the first time since I was a kid. Tremendous, first off, that you're enjoying swimming again. That to me is, um, you know, I hate seeing people lose joy in the things they love, and I especially hate that OCD tries to take those things away from you. Because OCD attacks everything we love. It wouldn't attack something if we didn't love it, because then we wouldn't feed into it. As far as how you're able to know when to stop a training session. So I think for me, me personally, so I actually, I lost my athletic career. I played football and basketball and lacrosse growing up, and loved being an athlete. And in high school, obviously, that was ripped away from me. And then later on, right after college, I found Olympic weightlifting, and so I've been competing. I've been competitive for over a year now in Olympic weightlifting, and hoping to qualify for nationals soon. So, I too have gotten kind of it's like, I feel like I'm making up for lost time with regaining my athletic career. And so for me, I like having structure with the training, because then I know when I have a guideline and someone telling me when I should stop, then I know if I'm going past that, then I know it's OCD related. And then also just attacking. I love that you use the term just right. I don't love that you're dealing with it, but I love that you use the right term there, right? So just right OCD is a pain in the butt. Um, I mean, I have just right OCD. That's a certain subtype that I deal with quite frequently. Um, and this is what you're talking about is super common. Doing things like feeling just doing things until the last one feels just right is super common. Something we talk about in athletics too is the pursuit of excellence and the pursuit of perfection. There's a very, very strong line between the two. Perfection is going to take that joy out, and you're just going to go until you can't go anymore. Pursuit of excellence is knowing what your boundaries are, and what your limits are, and then working towards reaching those, and then taking a step back and realizing that, okay, it's time to rest now, and having a plan, and just trying to be the best you can each day. Um, but I mean, a really basic exposure for that would be to um, shoot a basket and miss the basket and walk out of the gym. I mean, or don't take the last basket if the last one didn't feel just right. Don't take another shot. Swim one less lap than you usually would. So I definitely think those are very applicable to ERP, or ERP is very applicable to those situations, because I've had to do stuff like that too, like um, like certain exercises, like clean and jerks, like don't do another one if it didn't feel just right. I think that happens to me all the time, and part of that was working with my coach to help him understand OCD, and luckily I have a coach that understands that. Thank you, man. I'm trying to do my best job here. I know Ethan's got a special way about him, man. I try to try to copy it a little bit, but he's just good at this stuff. He's real good at this stuff. He's also just a comedian too. I don't think I stop laughing when I'm around Ethan. Yeah, Allison, definitely let me know if you ever want to connect. I'm always available to connect. My Instagram's at Iron T Smalls, and my I can definitely provide. My website is struggleintostrength.com, and there's a contact form on there as well. How much counseling is average for an OCD sufferer in order to see effective results? This would be a really, really good question for Ask the Experts, a different live stream. You can see those again at our Peace of Mind website tab. So iocdf.org/peace of mind. You can see the entire schedule of future streams. I think that would be a really, really good place to ask that. But I can tell you for me, um, you know, when I was really, really in rock bottom of my OCD, I think I went to therapy more than once or twice a week, and then um, I had my therapist coming into the house to do like ERP in my house, and then I had homework, exposure response therapy homework every night. Um, I think it's really dependent on the person now, right? And how severe their OCD is, and um, how how much they're suffering. Uh, for me, it took months for I would say probably it took a year to really get back on, to understand how to use ERP on my own, because I think it is a lot different when you're doing it in an office with a therapist than it is when you're in the middle of your daily life and you need to do you need to do an exposure. Amanda, this is a great question. How do ERP and values intertwine for you? I've been taking more risks to live by my values more, but I've noticed a corresponding uptick in compulsions. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Yeah, I mean, that's totally true. And I think the more you live in, lean into uncertainty and lean into your values, you're going to see that anxiety elevate, because human nature is nobody likes uncertainty, right? Everybody likes to have a plan. But with OCD, it's 10 times worse, right? Like we hate uncertainty. So you're by taking those risks and living into your values, which congratulations, that's amazing. You're leaning in more and more into that uncertainty. So that anxiety is elevating a little bit, right? But over time, that anxiety won't be as bad because you're literally doing ERP by taking more risk and living in your values and leaning into that uncertainty. So really, really good work, and it's gonna get better if you keep doing it. I think for me also, like, I'm not, gonna recommend anybody medication, but like for me, like the Prozac that I was on, kind of helped that alleviate that anxiety a little bit more when I was leaning into my values and doing ERP. A lot of people think medication is going to stop intrusive thoughts. That's not the case, but it does alleviate some of the anxiety. Matt, what diet, supplements, nutrition would you say is good for OCD time? When you're thinking about the brain chemistry, I think the biggest thing that you want to think is omega fatty acids are super great for any sort of brain health. So, um, but I think the things you really want to stay away from, and obviously this could be for all humans, is we want to eat more whole foods. This is what I tell my athletes and my clients. If it comes from a box, chances are it's not something you really want to dive into because that processed stuff is gonna only expedite our anxiety, our fatigue. So things like that, you might want to talk to a doctor and understand how you if you like caffeine or coffee or energy drinks. Be careful because depending on the caffeine dosage, that can increase anxiety. If you're drinking too much caffeine, you can have absolutely more anxiety and be more jittery and see those an uptick of that anxiety from OCD. I know for me, if I have like I drink like a cup of coffee in the morning and then sometimes at lunch. Um, but if I do more than that, like I know I'm gonna be more anxious all day, and thinking more and more about my intrusive thoughts. I always say if it flew, swam, or ran, you can eat it. Right? It's eat whole foods. Make sure you're getting kind of the whole spectrum, the rainbow, I like to call it. Right? And make sure that you're limiting your caffeine depending on how your body can handle caffeine. Lucas, depression. Is it normal that the feeling of something isn't right stays or increases if I stop my compulsions after the obsession started? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I like to explain this cycle a lot, the OCD cycle. So when an obsession comes about, and so this is before ERP, right? So you're dealing with an intrusive thought, right? And that intrusive thought is festering, and becoming prominent, and then you feed it with that compulsion that it wants you to do. The anxiety immediately alleviates, but the problem is it comes right back up, right? So that anxiety goes down, spikes back up. So what we do with ERP obviously is we do the ERP, we resist that compulsion, right? Like you're doing, right? Because you stop the following compulsions. You're starving that obsession, and that anxiety is increasing mountain over time, right? Because you're super anxious now from not doing that compulsion. But over time, that anxiety decreases, and then it doesn't keep going up and down. Because if you keep feeding that cycle, yeah, we'll get immediate gratification and immediate relief, but for how long? I get it for like 30 seconds if I do a compulsion, because then the next intrusive thought comes right after that. Definitely, Lucas. That's a great question. We've had really really good questions tonight, and I think the more we do ARP, the less that anxiety increases. So I think keep at the ARP, and eventually it does get better. Got about 20 more minutes, so definitely feel free. For how long should one take medicine for OCD? I know it depends on the person, but there's an average based on other people's experiences. Again, this would definitely be ask the experts question, but I can say my own personal experience, and just based off of data from uh, antidepressants. So antidepressants don't work instantly. You usually have to start taking them for you have to start taking them, and then you'll see the effects from usually like it could be anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. That things start getting better and the anxiety starts improving. Um, how long you should be on that medication is totally up to the person. If it's working, I mean, I like to say don't fix what ain't broke, right? Um, if you're having side effects, that's when you start playing with different ones, and that's when you have to meet with a licensed professional and make sure that you're being safe with how you're testing out different medications and dosages. But it is a little bit of trial and error. So for me, like I when I took Lexapro, my OCD didn't get any better, and my anxiety didn't get any better. And so for me, I changed medications and then found Prozac, and Prozac worked for me. So it definitely is depend. It definitely is a very big depending on the person. A manual. Harmlessly didn't start in a normal way as what ifs, but with sensations of attraction. Also, can I choose not to take meds? Meds is, I mean, that question, meds is definitely your choice. No doctor's ever going to force you to take medication. They might recommend it, but that is totally up your choice, and it's your freedom to decide whether you want to take that, whether you want to take medication. Um, as far as the first question, if you don't mind in the chat, just elaborating a little bit about what you mean about sensations of attraction, and then maybe I can kind of elaborate my answer more. If I have scrupulosity and struggle with the fear of speaking out blasphemous words, would ERP require to actually do that, or is it enough just learning to tolerate the constant anxiety? Um, I would think, obviously I'm not a clinician, but in my ERP experience that I've done myself, usually that because I struggled with scrupulosity for a while in high school, and I was definitely like, I mean, I would be saying the blasphemous words probably. My therapist would probably make me say that stuff, but that's a decision between you and your therapist. If that's your big obsession and big fear, the only way to combat that really is to maybe you don't go right to saying those words, but what I like to say is you build that hierarchy, right? So first you write down the word, or first you think about the word, um, that or you look at the word on a screen, then you think about the word, um, then you write down the word, then you maybe say the word. Um, I think that's kind of how I did it with ERP is building up to that. You don't need to go to 0 to 100 right away. Kayla, I totally agree. It's important to highlight recovery as anything but linear. Yes, 100%. Um, you know, recovery is every day. I mean, for me at least, I think um, it's constantly making the decision to do the ERP and understand that how good life can be and that we deserve great things, um, and that what we do um, is going to kind of how we deal with the OCD is going to affect our lives. And so, um, the more we, go about our lives, I think you're going to see upticks and down and ups and downs and ebbs and flows of how OCD reacts to daily life and daily life circumstances. I mean, I know it's very easy to tell when I'm starting to get more triggered because I think I don't necessarily it means I'm not doing my maintenance work. I like to call it maintenance work, right? So I'm in a place now that where does OCD bother me? Yeah, definitely. And some days it's worse than others, but I'm able to have an enjoyable life and go set out for different goals and things that I want to endeavors that I want to accomplish. Keep asking away. We got Kayla. Yeah, no, I mean, I think um, I think the clinicians I've been with have done a good job of making sure that I know it's not linear, but I definitely think you know, you see things on social media. You see, lead advocates, our national advocates like talking, and you think, they just had this linear path where in reality, like, there's been times I've been on a screen, talking to you guys, and behind the scenes, that day I was having uh, a tremendously difficult time with my OCD. So it's definitely not uh, linear, and I think the more you can kind of anticipate that OCD is going to stick around, the better. Definitely normal to have ups and downs during life with OCD. I totally agree. Manual. I can accept uncertainty even when my case didn't start commencing. And then that was a follow up to yes, you can definitely accept uncertainty even if it's like having sensations when you see people of the same sex. That's um if that's still something that's an intrusive thought when you do, or it's a body response, then you definitely can accept uncertainty, and maybe you meet with if you have a therapist or you see a clinician. That's definitely something to talk about more of, and share with them, because it sounds like you could still do some ERP with that. Nothing about OCD is conventional, by the way. Um, we all have so many different, intrusive thoughts, and um, I mean, I don't think OCD has ever been labeled conventional. I mean, it's all over the place. So you're definitely not alone. I actually know I at the conference this past year I met many people who were talking about there's this thing called the groinal response, and that's what's a thing that's very common with people with OCD, and then they have that response, that that sensation, and all of a sudden, they had the thought pops in their head, and you know that's that's where that kind of that thought kind of, now they're second guessing themselves. It's a good question, Matt. So I mean, taking magnesium is never going to be a bad thing. It's in electrolytes. And it improves nerve function. Um, it plays a lot of crucial roles in the body, muscle nerve function, energy production. So taking magnesium definitely is not it would definitely not be a negative. Um, I think the biggest thing is when we look at supplements is um, what do you think you're not getting from your diet? The biggest thing, I always say with nutrition is, whether it's for an athlete, whether it's for, somebody in their daily life, a normal adult, I think it's really important to look at how do we build a base, right? You build it by the food first, right? The term supplement means in addition to. So if we're not reaching the levels we need to reach, then the magnesium supplement's a great idea. But we don't want to get our magnesium intake just from the supplement. Meryl, that's interesting. I mean, I think you got to be careful with that. So from it says for me, it also helped to react to intrusive thoughts with a so what. For example, it doesn't matter if there's bugs in my bed; they are harmless. So to me, um, that kind of sounds to me like you're justifying and that maybe you're almost saying like telling yourself that the bugs are fine, right? So you don't want to that's reassurance in a sense, right? So you really what you'd want to do is say there's bugs on my bed, they're going to eat me alive. All right? So we want to like attack it as much as possible, that thought as much as possible because telling yourself that it doesn't matter and that they're harmless, that makes it so that it's reassurance seeking. Because I used to do something very similar. I would give myself reassurance like um I would be like really, really afraid that I would fail a test, and I would tell myself, I would look at all the other grades, and I'd tell myself, well, if I fail this test, then I'm still gonna have a B plus, or whatever, right? So like, I'm giving myself that reassurance when in reality, like I should be leaning completely into uncertainty. Yeah, that was my high school experience too, man. I hear you. Emmanuel, I mean, so another one that's good is vitamin D. Vitamin D is really really important for brain function. Um, Vitamin B12, those hitting those levels are super important. But vitamin D is the first one that pops into my head because it is essential for brain function. And really can help. So, and I think vitamin D also a lot of people don't realize that they're deficient, but they are. So for me, like I live in Albany, New York, and it's literally like dark here. From like I wake up, go to work at 6 a.m. It's dark. I leave work at 6 p.m. It's dark. Like so, if I don't go outside and like get some, and how many days are gray, right? So in the winter, usually from like December to end of March, I actually take a vitamin D supplement myself because I know I'm not getting enough sunlight and natural light. So that vitamin D deficiency is going to affect my mood for sure. Emmanuel, yes, absolutely. I think something that we don't talk about enough is the depression and sadness that comes with OCD sometimes. Um, I know I've dealt with depression a tremendous amount, and there's so many days where, even just getting out of bed is tough, and it's not because of my OCD. Like I can put my feet on the floor and get out of bed. It's just that I don't have the desire to. Right? It's just like I have this weird heavy feeling, and my brain's foggy. Those things are super common. We're fighting these struggles together, these challenges together, and um, it's. I mean, it definitely takes a toll on you. And I think just another thing to go off that is to just recognize what part's OCD and that's giving you trouble, and what part is just some sadness and and maybe dealing with some depression because of that OCD. I know ERP always makes me so tired too because you're you're going head to head with OCD for, whatever, however long. And I think that always made me super fatigued. I'd leave when I was in high school, I'd leave like ERP sessions. And my mom was such a saint, man. My mom was such a saint. She would be like, "Do you want to go get ice cream or something?" And I'd just be like, so tired, so tired. But she was such a saint about that kind of stuff and was always just trying to be there for me. Kayla, 100%. I think you always want to, before you start ingesting anything, you always want to make sure that it's not interfering with there's no medication interactions. I mean, I consult my psychiatrist and my physician about everything when I start taking any sort of supplement, because obviously there's interaction. We're not scientists or doctors, so we don't know all the interactions, but there definitely is certain things. I also with like I had a weird interaction one time actually with cold medicine, with Mucinex. Like it was crazy. I was like really sick. So it is super important to make sure to read labels, to confirm, double check, with a GP before starting those supplements and taking different medication with what you're on. Yeah, Meryl, those are actually the toughest obsessions, I think. The ones that are realistic because, like, for example, when I was in college, I watched the show The Walking Dead, which is about like a zombie apocalypse. And for me, like, that was a terrifying obsession, but I was able to ERP with that one like very easy. And then like that thought didn't bother me anymore. It was very easy to get to and attack in ERP. But when a realistic thought for me was like, my girlfriend's gonna break up with me, right? So like that's a tremendously, tough thought for me that scares me, right? Because she's special to me, right? So anything that's really special to you and is usually more realistic, um, it is still important to do ERP with those. Even maybe even more so because those are going to stick around because those are going to be in your life forever. Emmanuel, last one. I always feel scared when I happen to read when people say they have suicide thoughts because I start to feel like I'm going to have those thoughts because it'll make me realize how bad this is. I'm trying to think of the best way to. I mean, I think one, people have no trouble talking about anxiety anymore, right? I think it's for the most part, people are talking about anxiety a ton, but people definitely, suicide is a word that's very triggering to some, very taboo. Don't want to talk to it, and I talk about this on my podcast a ton. Is we're losing people to suicide a ton, right? It's one of the leading causes of death, and especially in young adults. And so it's so important to understand how we need to talk more about suicidal ideation and suicidal thoughts. Because there's more people that have those than we think. Um, if you ever feel unsafe, 988 crisis hotline. If tell a friend, seek help. You're so loved. Um, but what you're feeling is definitely an upset. It's an intrusive thought, right? From OCD, you're scared that if you read about suicide, you're gonna have those thoughts. So what would ERP tell you to do is to read about it. Kayla, I'm gonna man that's a great that's a great thing. That was the best thing you could have said. Maybe we were all Ethaned out. Yeah, he's got to stay in Disney. We got to do another one of these. I like being here with you guys. That's amazing. Um, Ethan, if you're watching and listening, you hear that? Kayla said it was nice to have a change of scenery. You should let me step in more often. Thank you very much. So we're just turning about at the hour now. I'll take any last questions. I'm actually still at my office right now, so I'm gonna get home and turn on the air fryer. So um, If you guys have anything else, let me know. And if not, I hope to be on this again soon. We got to tell Ethan to go on some more vacations, take some more time off, so I can step in. I really appreciate y'all being here. And as always, I mean, I appreciate this community so much. It's all of you guys that really keep us going and wanting to power through. This community is so amazing. I was talking about it the other day. I don't think I've never seen another community be so close and be so supportive of each other. And I think the IOCDF just does an amazing job of bringing that community together. So I really appreciate all of you. I hope you have a wonderful night. Just a quick announcement. This live stream is one of many. You can see the entire schedule of future streams at iocdf.org/peace of mind. You can also view recordings of past live streams as well as watch our hosts answer your pre-submitted questions. OCD Mailbag on IOCDF's YouTube channel, youtube.com/IOCDF. Remember to like and subscribe to get notified when live streams are scheduled. Camp registration is open. Register now for this awesome event created for youth with OCD and their families. So if you have a child with OCD, definitely register for OCD camp. The program will include live sessions for parents and guardians and opportunities for fun socialization with other families. So you'll get to meet other families. To register, visit iocdf.org/camp. One last announcement. Registration for the online hoarding disorder conference is also open. This conference offers an opportunity for professionals, from therapists and social workers to firefighters and other public safety officials, to learn how to work effectively and compassionately with the individuals with hoarding disorder. It'll be held March 4th and 5th. Definitely register today. And then I'm going to plug my podcast one more time. Smallest Talk podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Anchor. I really enjoy having y'all here. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their week.